So this is a view looking out from the front of the house at the neighbors across the street. Oftentimes, Tim and I would go out here to smoke, and when I was out there alone on some nights, this twack would increase and escalate, and I didn't necessarily always see it as colorful as this. Sometimes I did on certain objects, but this is with a Galaxy Note 8 camera. I'm going to draw some interpretations here in the twack, the projected twack as they call it. Keep in mind, I saw this with my eyes unaided without the use of a camera. And also keep in mind that the porch light is on. There are two lights beyond that the brick to the right, or the stone to the right. There are two garage lights right there. And there's a light in the house in front of it, and in front of us. And there's a garage light on, I believe. And there's a street light just off to the right, across the street. There is a street light right across the street from us. And so a Galaxy Note 8 camera would not produce noise like this. Shooting in 4K, downgraded to 1K or HD while editing. But I would see this twack out there, all this waving, wiggling movement. And sometimes it looked like it put faces on trees. And sometimes it looked like it was just making things wiggle, or it just looked like noise, and I didn't see any animated content in it at all. But I constantly tried to record this to show my dad, like, look, I saw this with my eyes. I'm not hallucinating, therefore my camera's not hallucinating. My camera's not hallucinating, therefore I'm not hallucinating. Since this is the kind of the craziest part of all this nonsense, I thought then something would click in his brain and he would be like, oh, he's telling the truth, which is something he should have been doing at the very beginning, since I always tell the truth and I'm not in a constant 24/7 delusional state. I've never been in that at all. But he's always like, oh, looks like Kip's on meth again. And they're playing the music right now. It is now February 16th. So when my dad's let an additional 3 months of my life get wasted after he gave me false hope with his shittier timeline comment. And so I'm going to do some more interpretations here. Even above the eyes that I just draw, you can see another pair of eyes. A lot of times they poke out more when I draw the other eyes, because it kind of obscures it. They're mentioning Obscura and blah blah blah. They're mentioning Harry Potter, blah blah blah. They're mentioning Dudley and Bob, and they're using their voices like a motherfucker on the soundboard. And they're going, it's not a soundboard, it's real. They're on the air right now in Austin. We don't know it, and you don't know it, Kip, but they're on the air right now. This is going to be the most famous video in the world. And it's like, yay, this could have already happened like years ago. And then nothing happens. So, but my dad doesn't care that irreparable damage is being done to my body and psyche. He doesn't care that I'm being sexually and physically assaulted 24/7. He doesn't care that I'm in constant pain and discomfort, which increases more as time goes by, and which witnesses have felt. And other victims have felt and have gone on official public record with Travis County Sheriff's Department, with the sergeant, both in writing and in person, and gave, in individual interviews, gave supporting statements, and the sergeant did nothing. And you think that the sergeant would be like, hey, there are direct energy weapons that I should be aware of. They parodied one on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Here's another interpretation. They kept projecting stuff in the back of that truck like a motherfucker. And sometimes the old man in the house would sit out in the truck, and it would be kind of awkward because I didn't know if he was in the truck or not, and I'd be staring at it or filming it. And I'd be like, I hope he's not like wondering why I'm filming him. I hope he's not in the truck now. But see right there, it looks like there's like an eye in the back of the truck, and it looks like there's an eye in the side window of the truck. And again, it doesn't matter if you interpret it this way or not. Maybe it's not to be interpreted that way. I think it's meant to trick the brain's pattern recognition and facial recognition. But again, I saw this with my eyes unaided. A Galaxy Note 8 camera would not produce noise like this. And again, I saw this noise or projected twack with my eyes unaided. And I've literally seen them when I didn't have my camera showcase 2 examples of holograms that were lit up like a neon sign, just not as bright. And now they're mentioning Chris Blackman and going to a pizza place after the swim meets, which they have mentioned for months now, if not longer. So sending messages of hope doesn't work, because they've been doing that forever. And now they're taunting me with the sprinkle sprangles thing, because I've mentioned that serial, and they're mentioning Ben Swafford, and they're mentioning the fact that when I saw a Madonna video and the human behavior thing, how she crosses her eyes and makes a funny face, how Ben like pointed that out to me, and how he also likes the funny the eye roll of the one woman in Shakespeare's Sister near the end of the video. They're like, how would we know that? And I'm like, one of those hints was over 3 months ago, and the other one was since then, I think, or before then, I can't remember which. But they keep doing things like that, and they're like, ooh, how would we know that? Ooh, how would we know? How would we know that? Are we still spying on them? Are they even aware of it? They're like, your dad's pushing you to suicide along with us. He aids terrorists and he supports terrorism, and I concur with that. I won't spend less than 10 seconds of his time, and no one in the know will spend less than 10 seconds of their time to help save my life and avoid me being in the fourth stage of the suicide push and avoid me being pushed to suicide altogether. But no one believes me, so they just think I'm a crazy, drug-damaged former addict or addict who's in a 24/7 delusional state and that caused his own schizophrenia by doing like this ungodly amount of meth. Which my dad still has in his brain, even though he was listening to someone who's a habitual liar and doesn't listen to his own son and doesn't believe his own son. But yeah, I would see this across the street all the time, all this wiggling, all this movement with my own eyes.